Armand here with your forecast for the week of December 10th, 2023. It's quite a week in the midst of quite a month. I say that sometimes, and it's the thing about it this time is this week really fits in with this month. You know, this is the vibe of this month is the vibe of this week. So let's get to it. There's a few major things happening this week. First of all, we have the new moon in Sagittarius. Now, the Sagittarius new moon, generally speaking, a good time to be setting intentions or thinking about where you'd like to go in the big picture. And maybe where you'd like to go. Think about travel, think about education, think about looking at things, from above, as though from above, the big picture. I wouldn't necessarily say this is a great time to actually put stuff into action. It's probably a better time to just sort of hold the vision. That's very, very much what December is about. It's not about saying, okay, what practical steps can we take? It's about holding the vision and deciding, where do we want it to go? What do we want it to look like? Not so much how it's going to happen. Let serendipity rule a bit. So that is on the 12th, right? So we get there on Tuesday. We have the new moon in Sagittarius. Of course, waning into the new moon, we have that sort of quiet energy of the new moon. We have that, it's a time to withdraw and go inwards a bit. We'll see what happens, for the weekend there, the prior weekend, the weekend of the 9th and the 10th. It's well, first of all, we have Jupiter opposite Venus on the 9th. That's Saturday. I know that that's really technically last week's forecast, but hey, serendipity, right? What we talk about, we talk about. Or what I talk about, I talk about. So we have on Saturday, we have this Venus-Jupiter opposition, and that will carry over. The vibe will carry over a bit into Sunday, and then we have a Mercury-Venus sextile. That's a nice aspect. That's good for communication and relationships and social situations. That should work kind of nicely. Venus is in Scorpio, where she's not thrilled to be, and Mercury is out of bounds, coming inbounds, and getting ready to retrograde. You can get some communication, you can get some important communication done, but I would say that you want to really check it quite a bit. And you want to be what you want to do? I'll tell you. This is what you want to do. This is what you want to do. Right? So you want to actually speak to people in person. You want to be as clear as possible. You want to make sure that the emotional content of the message comes through. Very, very dicey week to be doing things like sending text messages when you think you're being funny and somebody takes it the wrong way. All of that stuff, you know what I'm saying. This is an opportunity for things to get a little mixed up. Better that somebody can hear the tone of your voice. Better that they can see your face, if that's a possibility, instead of working on the principle of, I'm just going to send you the text message and you can figure it out from there. So that's an important thing for the entire week. I think the beginning of the week may make it clear to us. So then Tuesday we have the new moon, and then Wednesday Mercury stations to go retrograde, and he'll be retrograde until January 1st. So the rest of the year has Mercury retrograde all over it. Eventually he's going to get back into Sagittarius and square Neptune again. But for the time being, we only have to deal with Mercury finally coming back inbounds. He's been out of bounds for like a month. He comes inbounds and goes retrograde. All the usual caveats apply, about communication, transportation, back up your computer. I recently bought a new hard drive. Before the last Mercury retrograde, my external backup drive failed. I've never had a computer drive fail, but I've had backup drives fail twice now. Anyways, but I've got a new one. I'm going to get it set up way before Mercury goes retrograde. Okay, well, not way before, I guess, because we're only a couple of days away from it. Well, that's me. So you want to do things like back up your computer. Again, communication, traffic, travel. I happen to have travel coming up at the end of the week, the day after Mercury goes retrograde. We'll see what happens, right? And so in Capricorn, I think it's especially important to pay attention to things like contracts and anything that needs to be signed, any officialdom types of things, anything to deal with the government or, stuff like that, where, the sort of more official side of it. I don't know that it's going to have that much of an effect on, well, it's Mercury retrograde. Let's not go predicting what Mercury retrograde may or may not do, right? Okay, so we have that. And then on Saturday, and it's fairly late on Saturday, and I would say this is coloring Friday, Saturday, and coming in then to Sunday, the 17th, we have the Sun square Neptune. Now, when the Sun and Neptune are at odds with each other, we have, or actually, whenever time they connect, we have a little bit of unreality. This is the unreality TV. This is unreality life. It is wonderful for, the spiel, right? It's great for meditation, taking a long walk. It is great for serendipitous occurrences. It is terrific for fantasies. Listen to music, create something, and don't even worry about like what you're going to do with it and what people are going to think about it. Nobody even has to see it, but you're creating something, you're doing something, you're bringing something in to the cosmos. Do that. That's a good thing to do as we get towards the weekend. I mean, really, it's the thing to do all week long. Mercury is stationing to retrograde. That's going to put a little into your plans if you're trying to do stuff on a practical level. And then we have this aspect coming up at the end of the week. It's very Neptunian feel to it. The sun is in Sagittarius, looking to, bolster beliefs. And then we have Neptune in Pisces just sort of fogging things out. So some folks, not you, but some folks are going to be a little bit extra polemical and polarizing and things like that. You hear that a lot. It's another theme. And of course, that is exactly what we have been experiencing. And look, in any issue, and there's so many of them. Lord knows there are so many of them. In any issue, what we're looking at here is it's not the reality of the situation, as dire as the reality of the situation may be. It's the rap about it. It is the story that we're telling. It is the stories that we're telling about these things. And those stories, they're not just stories. They are the motivating factors. People believe the stories. And that increases the polarization. So these are not benign things. Our created stories, our collective narrative, this is not a benign thing. Right? This is what really influences people. This is what really makes things happen. And it's likely to be very unrealistic and very polarized. That's at the collective level. On a more personal level, you might think someone is all that, and you might think that they're not. There's a kind of, it's perfect, it's wrong. It's perfect, it's broken kind of energy about this that could infiltrate when you're dealing with others. On the other hand, it's a square. And squares are not necessarily played out with others. There could be the internal thing. I'm doing something great. I'm not so sure about it. This is going to be wonderful. Oh, God, what if it all fails? That kind of thing. Everything is so great, everything collapses. Well, look, last week we had the Neptune station. We've had Neptune aspects really since the end of November. This is just one more of them. It's more of the same. Yes, it plays out a little bit differently. The Sun and Neptune is different than a Neptune station a little bit. But basically, it is that you see a lot, maybe too much, or else it all seems to be sort of evaporating in front of you and you don't know what to do about it. And it's just all kind of vague and uncertain, and it just seems so, don't even know what to say. So a very good week to just go with the flow, see what happens, allow things to develop by themselves. Serendipity rules, chance, if you want to call it that, bashert, however you look at it. This is a time of letting things be, saying, okay, we'll give it a try, go with the flow. Can't do what I was planning on doing. Maybe I'll do something differently. Enjoy the moment. Don't think too much about the future. The Sagittarius new moon kind of suggests maybe thinking a little bit, but only in a vague kind of way. You only really want to think about it in a vague kind of way. You don't want to be all that serious about stuff. You know what? Don't be all that serious about stuff.